Hello YouTube, my name is John. This is my first YouTube video I'm making for my YouTube channel that'll delve into finance and geopolitics and how events are going to affect the US economy and US stock market overall. Now, quick disclaimer from my end here, just in case. The following views are my own and do not reflect the views of the Department of Defense. Now, today is June 20th, 2025, approximately 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Why is that important? It's important because I believe the United States will shortly join in the war against Iran. I'm trying to get this video done and out there as soon as possible because President Trump addresses Congress at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. my time, and I could be proven right here earlier than I think, but I think 2 weeks at the latest is when the U.S. would get involved. Anything past that, I don't think anything will happen. But let's jump into the details. Last week, Israel launched a preemptive strike on Iran to prevent them from potentially acquiring nuclear weapons. I'll try and keep this video apolitical as best I can, but I'll touch on it when necessary to explain certain events. To summarize, Israel believed that Iran had refined enough uranium for a nuclear bomb. To counter that is Iran maintaining that they were not actively pursuing a nuclear weapon. Now, we don't know which side is correct here. They could have been sitting at a threshold status to avoid technically having a nuclear bomb while technically having the ability to quickly possess one. But I'm sure we'll find out the truth in the coming months. Regardless, we're here now, and I want to talk about how this affects the U.S. economy and stock market. There were talks between the U.S. and Iran that at first looked promising, but they were starting to fall through. And I now doubt there's any potential for a nuclear deal at this point. If Iran wasn't pursuing a nuclear weapon before, I'd wager they most definitely are now. So as it stands, Israel does not have the capability to target Iran's 3 underground nuclear enrichment facilities. These facilities are located 300 feet underground, and the only country that has the ordnance to penetrate that deep is the United States using the Massive Ordnance Penetrator Bomb, or MOP for short. I've been mulling over this for the past week, and I've come to the conclusion that the only logical policy decision for the U.S. government to pursue is to strike these facilities themselves. Provided the U.S. government doesn't join the conflict, I don't see any feasible scenario in which Iran doesn't end up with a nuclear weapon. And any potential for a deal is off the table, so it wouldn't be in the U.S. government's interest to have another hostile nuclear-armed country in the region. Again, none of these statements are my political beliefs. I'm merely analyzing the situation from different points of view here. With that being said, here's how I think the situation would play out. And again, all this information is open source. There are currently 2 carrier strike groups in the Persian Gulf. The USS Carl Vinson and the USS Nimitz. The USS Gerald R. Ford is underway to the Mediterranean and will be near the coast of Israel. In addition to that, the HMS Queen Elizabeth, a British aircraft carrier, is sailing through the Red Sea, likely to the Persian Gulf as well. Each carrier strike group usually consists of several destroyers, cruisers, submarines, all with guided missile capabilities, and each aircraft carrier has a complement of about 64 to 85 aircraft. The U.S. Air Force is also deploying tankers to Europe as well as fighter aircraft, which from there they could easily fly to Saudi Arabia, Israel, British bases in Cyprus, or Turkey, which is a NATO ally. The wild card of the situation is the B-2 Spirit, a $2 billion U.S. aircraft, a stealth bomber that has the capabilities to carry the Massive Ordnance Penetrator Bomb. And from there, they can take off from the U.S., aerially refuel, and then pursue their targets in the Middle East, carry out their mission undetected due to their stealth capabilities. But as of now, I believe the conflict will be relatively limited in terms of U.S. involvement. The U.S. Air Force would probably help Israel maintain air superiority and bomb strategic targets. The U.S. Navy would probably play a more defensive role in protecting oil exports from the Arab Gulf states so the world economy isn't thrown into turmoil. After that, I can't get a fix on what might happen. The ground invasion would be difficult and regime change even more so. Iran is a much larger country than Iraq, very mountainous as well, with more people. I think 92 million versus Iraq in 2003 had 25 to 30 million. So it wouldn't be as relatively easy as a walk in the park as the 2003 Iraq war was. Nor do I believe the Trump administration is particularly interested in pursuing a prolonged Middle Eastern conflict, considering one of their core tenets of their campaign was no new wars. Now, how that affects the stock market overall, I think there will probably be, in the short term, a sharp decrease in the market. Oil will have a bit of a fear trade upwards, but I don't think there will be any serious threat to the supply of oil. There's the threat that Iran mines the Strait of Hormuz, but with the strong U.S. naval presence there, I don't think Iran would be able to without all their vessels being quickly sunk. And there's also the idea that Iran's oil production, which goes mostly to China and a couple other countries, could be significantly impacted as well. So there might be a slight reduction in the supply of oil with a sharp increase in the price of oil at the beginning of the conflict, and then I think things will mellow out from there. But from my end, I wish I had made a video sooner about the initial strike Israel carried out against Iran, because I called that out pretty much to the T before it happened. And I based that off a couple clues, namely the U.S. Embassy in Iraq was evacuated, and the Pentagon Pizza Index spiked. Now, the Pentagon Pizza Index tracks the activity of a nearby Domino's. The theory is that when a military or major military operation is about to occur, all the Pentagon workers stay home, or not, they stay at work, vice going home, planning late into the night, and they order pizza there for dinner, vice going home for dinner. Now, the night before Israel struck Iran, the activity on Google was off the charts. And I texted my cousin who works in Wall Street. The morning of June 12th, 2025, Israel will strike Iran this week. I feel it in my bones. He wasn't convinced, and he took the opposite side of that trade. He bought S&P 500 Leaps, which are long-term call options on the S&P 500. And I bought ticker BNO, which tracks Brent crude oil futures. Now, I made a nice steady profit, and I don't think the S&P 500 fell that much. I'd have to check the few days after, but he's doing fine. Their Leafs, my cousin's doing fine. Their Leafs call options far into the future, but regardless, I'm making this video because I want to have this on YouTube so I can go back and review it and be vindicated if I am right. I could be wrong. But today I doubled down in open positions in several U.S. defense companies. Now, quick disclaimer here, I'm not a licensed fiduciary. None of this is investing advice. This is just my own moves here and my own analysis. But I've got 8 new videos planned in some of the companies I invested in, and I'll do deep dives into those. And that's more content coming down the pipe for y'all. But we'll see if that plays out. If the U.S. joins the war, I think the defense sector overall will see a big swing to the upside. And if I'm wrong, all the companies I invested in are fairly priced, in my opinion, with dividends that I'll probably hold till 2030. Exception of that being Boeing, and I'll go into a video of that. But my cousin is taking the opposite side of the trade again. He maintains, quote, nothing ever happens, unquote. And I had to get this video out there in case something did potentially happen, so I can be proven right. But let me know what y'all think. If you could please subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends, it would be a big help to my up-and-coming channel. Have a good day, y'all, and we'll see what happens this weekend and what happens with the address to Congress shortly here.